Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2025 DC film Superman. The film is co-written and directed by James Gunn, and it stars David Cornsweet as Superman. We have Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. We've got Nathan Fillion, Alan Tudyk, Grace Chen, Michael Rooker. Loads and loads of faces and names that you will recognise. And this is the reboot, I suppose, of the DC universe. The reboot, the first film in James Gunn's reimagining of the DC cinematic universe, and he's focused on the biggest character in that universe, and that is Superman. I have been so excited for this film. I'm not going to lie. This is my most anticipated film of the year. We meet Superman. He has been on Earth for 3 years now, so he's not newly landed on Earth. He's not newly introduced himself. He is well known around the planet now. He's been dating Lois Lane for 3 months. The film explains at the beginning that he's just lost his first battle ever to one of Lex Luthor's henchmen. And he has essentially got to put a stop to Lex Luthor's plans on invading foreign countries and essentially trying to put Superman out of business and kill him, basically. Right. What are my thoughts on Superman? Well, as I mentioned, this is without a doubt my most anticipated film of the year. I'm a huge fan of Superman. I grew up obviously with the Christopher Reeve films. I went to the cinema to see his films when they first came out. For me, he is and will always be Superman. And this film obviously recognises that. It uses the John Williams score. You've got Christopher Reeve's son, who plays a newspaper TV reporter in the film as well. So James Gunn has been very, very respectful to what has come before, which is very, very nice. And I really enjoyed this. I mean, I want to get that straight out there. I really had a great, great time with this film. And that's coming from somebody who was dead against the recasting of Superman. I thought Henry Cavill was an excellent Superman. I thought he had more to give with that character. I really did. I thought it was unfair what DC did to him, but I suppose it wasn't really James Gunn's fault. You know, they offered Henry Cavill a new contract for Superman, then James Gunn came in and said, nope, I want to recast everything. And I was annoyed by that when I first heard that news. I was a bit like, well, that's put me on the back foot straight away. I'm not really interested in your new Superman now, James Gunn. And then time is a great healer. You know, I started hearing a lot of things about his vision for Superman, his vision for the DC universe, and I was starting to warm to it. And then I started seeing clips and trailers and stuff, and I really started to warm to it. I think what James Gunn here has done is captured the essence of Superman, and it's a different Superman than we've ever seen before on screen. This is much more of a comic book on a screen. It's so different tonally to the Zack Snyder's DC universe, and certainly his iteration of Superman. I think a lot of people who really did enjoy Zack Snyder's universe, and I'm one of them, to be honest, I think a lot of people might struggle with the massive change in tone. But one of my criticisms of the Zack Snyder Superman was that Superman was supposed to be representing hope, you know, and inspiring humanity and all this kind of stuff, leading by example. And, you know, it got to the point where it turned Superman into a bit of a misery guts. So the Superman that we get here is very, very hopeful, almost naive at times, in actual fact. He's emotional. The scene that I think he does with Clark Kent and Lois Lane when she interviews him, I thought was very, very clever, because it showed the humanity of the man. He's just trying to do the right things, even though a lot of people might not agree with some of the stuff he does, including Lewis. I thought David Corn Sweat did a fantastic job here as Superman. Obviously he's got some big boots to fill. Not only Christopher Reeve, but obviously Henry Cavill as well. And knowing as well that there are a lot of Henry Cavill fans out there that didn't want him recast. So a lot of pressure there. I thought he nailed it. He nailed the tone of this character brilliantly. He was ultra powerful, but incredibly vulnerable as well at the same time. He gets hurt desperately a number of times in this film. And that's always the problem with Superman. How do you portray his vulnerability? I think James Gunn completely nailed that. Absolutely nailed that. And I thought David Corn Sweat nailed it. He really, really nailed it. And then you've got all the other characters thrown in here. You've got the Justice Gang, is it they call themselves? Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern and the others. I thought they were great. Honestly, I thought Nathan Fillion was close to stealing this picture as Guy Gardner as the Green Lantern. He was fabulous. He was so great. I really enjoyed him. And another character that I think is going to be diversive to a lot of people is Krypto. Now, when I first saw Krypto and images of Krypto, and that I got the knowledge that Krypto was going to be this film, I had my head in my hands, because I'm not that kind of Superman fan where I want to see a flying dog with a cape. It's just a bit too far for me to stretch my believability. So I was really, really anxious in a lot of ways to see how Krypto was going to be portrayed. And then I saw that teaser trailer with Krypto dragging Superman into the Fortress of Solitude, and that brought me around a bit. I'm kind of like, oh, you know what, that's actually quite nice. They're quite good. I loved Krypto in this. I loved him. I understand it's probably going to annoy some people. I loved him. I thought he was playful. I thought he looked cute. I thought the interactions with him and Superman were great. There's some lovely scenes with him. When Superman's recovering and he's lying on his chest, and honestly, I thought they used Krypto really, really well here, and it didn't seem silly, and that was what was worried for me. I was worried that Krypto was going to seem silly, and it really didn't. And then we've got Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and honestly, I thought he knocked it out the park here as Lex Luthor. He was sinister. He was manipulative. He was unhinged, but he was also a genius, a certified genius. And those are all the ingredients that you want in Lex Luthor. He felt, for me anyway, like for the first time in a Superman film, like an absolute genuine threat to Superman. He really did. It was so well done here. Nicholas Hoult played it so well. I really do believe that they nailed Lex Luthor. I thought they nailed all the characters here, for the most part. I thought some of the characters didn't get enough screen time, like Perry White's and Jimmy Olsen's, and some of those smaller characters could have done with a little bit more. I thought we could have done with a bit more Clark Kent. We got like a scene with him at the beginning as Clark Kent being a bit bumbly, as Clark Kent should. But then after that, the only time you really see Clark Kent is when he's having that interview with Lois, and he's not Clark Kent. He's Superman persona there, because obviously they're dating and she knows he's Superman. So I would like to have seen a little bit more Clark Kent. It was almost like it almost feels silly saying this. It's almost like there was too much Superman at times. It needed to maybe reel itself back in and let you breathe now and again. But it feels a bit odd saying that about a Superman film. There might have been a little bit too much Superman. But I thought James Gunn, for the first outing for his DC universe, it gives me a lot of hope, especially when I know that some of the projects that he's got coming up sound silly to me. But then again, I'd never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy when that came out initially for Marvel. Never heard of it, and I remember going to the cinema watching that, and absolutely, it blew me away. It really, really did. So I'm happy to see what James Gunn can do here. If he keeps up this kind of quality, keeps up this kind of tone, it's a lot lighter, it's a lot brighter, it's a lot more hopeful than previous DC films that we've had. Hopefully, with his eye over each project, giving him a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and he keeps quality at a really, really high level, then I think we could be getting some really, really cool DC films in the coming years. So I was very, very satisfied with this, very, very happy with this one. And I'm delighted to see that it's getting good reviews. I'm delighted to see that it's doing well at the box office. So it's a good start all around. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Superman. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.